I perceived Inside as less about narrative and more an organic expression of ideas. At its core, I view it as a game about control. When we play video games, we're so used to having the freedom of choice, whereas Inside confines us to a pipeline of linear interactions that we unquestionably follow. That's because we're not playing as the boy, but rather we are controlling him, forcing him to overcome narrow obstacles in a bid to release this biological blob from its isolated imprisonment. It has an ambiguous twist ending that enlightens us and makes us consider why we do things. The twist, I believe, is that you are in fact the blob itself, controlling the boy into breaking into the facility in a bid to help it escape. It's reminiscent of Bioshock, which shocked us with its startling revelation that the phrase, "would you kindly," controls you to carry out certain acts. It completely challenges our role as gamers who unconsciously commit actions on command without questioning our motives, a theme also explored in the Stanley Parable, which focused on the notion that gamers are confined to rules and strict guidelines on how to play certain games. Inside doesn't restrict us entirely to this notion, but let me explain. The game has two distinct endings, one in which the monster escapes and rests in the sunlight to imply the hope of potential freedom. Then there's the secret ending in which the boy shuts down the mind-controlling machine. Both endings echo a similar idea, one in which the boy follows the blob's commands precisely as instructed and gives the creature its freedom, and one where the boy shuts down the creature entirely, completely eradicating that chance at freedom. In both instances, however, the boy always remains as a sacrifice, a pawn to a much larger situation, and is ultimately manipulated to follow one of two contrasting instructions. Essentially, the boy is a reflection of human innocence, which is further implied by the naked girls under the water who have lost their way, hence the nudity of the girls and later the boy as he swims to help the creature. By shutting down the creature, he becomes limp, much like the rest of society, and thus that innocence is lost. Yet, by becoming one with the creature, he becomes part of what functionalist sociologist Elam Durkheim calls the collective consciousness of society, a collection of shared beliefs and morals that, in this world, have become oppressed. Sociologically speaking, if you really want to push the Marxist thematics, the blob is actually a visual metaphor for Karl Marx's vivid description of what religion means in society. Religion is the sigh of the oppressed creature, the heart of a heartless world, just as it is the spirit of a spiritless situation. It is the opium of the people. This is visually described throughout the game. In other words, the boy disconnects this metaphorical human heart from the clutches of a corrupted system of oppression that aims to control the masses through production. The child, now free and cleansed of his oppression implied through his nudity, joins forces with this heart to attain the freedom that society demands. Yet, there's something entirely artificial about the escape. As the blob travels through the facility, the creature falls into one self-contained area after another, with one particular display showing the exact setup as the ending of the game, implying that the outside is very much like the inside world, and continues to be controlled, and that hope of freedom is ultimately futile. It reminds me of The Truman Show, where Truman's utopia is actually controlled and oppressed from the outside, whereas if he just lived his life inside without rejecting control, then society would operate smoothly. In Durkheim's eyes, society functions based on smooth operations that maintain harmony, yet when a social anomaly occurs, it disrupts the stable conditions of society and breaks the connection between the individual and the community. In the case of the boy, he is an anomaly to a society that functions with order and control, and this individualism, this sense of freedom, can't be allowed as it corrupts everything around us. Yet, there's something transcendent about the boy's journey, and the use of water acts as a motif to physical freedom. Water is free from the corruption of this dry, soulless land, and when the creature stops in the sunlight, there is this false sense of hope that makes me think that this heart wanted to submerge itself into the open freedom of the ocean.